If you have ADHD and you feel like fat loss is a constant battle, I'm here to tell you that it's not that most fat loss advice is wrong, it's just that it's built for the neurotypical brain. And that's why if you are neurodivergent, it feels so freaking hard and you're in this constant start-stop cycle. So in this video, I'm going to explain the top 5 most common mistakes I see that neurodivergent individuals make when it comes to fat loss and exactly what you need to do to fix it so you can make it work for your brain. So let's get stuck the hell in. Now, you might look at me as a fitness coach and think I've always had it sussed out that, I'm just this fitness human, that maybe there's something in my genes that makes fitness easier for me. And I'm here to say, that is not the case. I used to be in the exact same cycle that you are. I remember in my teenage years when I started to be more aware of my body, started to realize I wanted to lose some weight, and I would be in that cycle. I would start something, I would hyperfixate, and then I'd fall off and be balls deep in Maltesers within a few weeks. I thought I was inconsistent. I thought maybe I was addicted to food. I'm a foodie. Maybe this is just who I am, that there's something wrong with me. But really, it was the systems that I was following were completely incompatible. Like trying to drive an automatic car with manual instructions, trying to run Samsung, is that even a thing anymore? Software on an iPhone. It's never going to work. It's always going to feel like you're running into a wall. And that is exactly what was happening with me and weight loss. And it's probably what is happening with you. So here are the 5 most common mistakes. I'm going to explain why it happens and ultimately what you can do about it. But before we get stuck into the juicy, good advice and tips, all I ask is, it helps me out massively if you can just drop this video a like, because it gets boosted to other people, algorithm, all that good stuff. And that really does help me because I do all this for free. I'm not sponsored, none of that good stuff. So please guys, if you would like to give me a little gift today, just drop this video a like, and of course, actually drop the most useful bit of advice of these next 5 that you get. I'd love to hear which you find the most helpful because hey, I might do a deeper dive video on it. Right. Enough waffle. Now I'm thinking about waffles. Let's get stuck in. So the biggest one is starting too extreme. Now, when we think about starting a fat loss plan, a lot of ADHDers think that we need to go in super hard, change everything, and go in extreme. Because one, it makes logical sense. If we overhaul everything, we're going to get quick results. But that feeling of going in really extreme, really hardcore, it actually gives us a big hit of dopamine. It's exciting, it's novel, it kind of feels almost scary, and that gives you a rush at first. And especially when you start to see the results, like maybe you do see yourself leaning down quite quickly or the scale dropping quickly, it gives you that endorphin rush, that dopamine hit, and so you want to keep going. But after a few weeks, doing loads and loads of exercise that maybe you don't like, eating foods that you don't like, being really, really restrictive, the novelty, it does start to wear off. So then what happens is eventually you don't quite hit the target, you overeat, and you feel really bad. That shame hits you. And remember, with a neurodivergent brain, you have a very, very strong sense of emotion. So it hits you really hard. There's a lot of shame. And so what do? You carry on overeating to reset again. So what do we do about this? Your first golden rule to lose weight successfully with a neurodivergent brain is to not go in super, super hardcore. I know making small little changes doesn't feel very sexy. I know it feels bland. I know it feels boring. But the bigger the change, the bigger the rebound. So small incremental changes, tiny little tweaks to habits and behaviors might sound boring. It might feel like it's going to take you longer, but it stops you being in the start-stop cycle. So it actually gets you there a hell of a lot quicker. The second mistake is removing dopamine without replacing it. Now, food is not just about fuel and energy. Like we think about going into a calorie deficit, going into a diet, and we're going to be hungry, and we were just overeating and eating more because we're satisfying our body needs. But if you think about all the reasons that you eat and maybe overeat, very little is to do with being hungry. Sometimes it is, but a lot of the time it's emotional. It's giving us something. That's usually why most ADHDers are stuck in a body they're not happy with, because food is an emotional crutch. It's dopamine. So if you just get rid of that by cutting calories really low or following a diet plan, and you're taking all that dopamine food out, because that's usually what happens. You remove the food that you're overeating on, which makes sense on paper, you're removing that dopamine. So if you think a dopamine depleted brain with ADHD, you're depleting it even more. So there's this massive gap of like dopamine that your brain's crying out for. Now for a short while, it can ride it out, but if you're not replacing that with something else and topping up that dopamine strategically, your brain is going to go, excuse me, we need dopamine. And it's going to ask for it in the quickest, most accessible way that it knows. And that's food. And that's where you then start to get really intense cravings, start to become really food focused, and eventually cave, binge, reset. So you need to ensure that you are putting dopamine in other ways and understand how to regulate your dopamine beyond food. And I would also recommend not completely removing foods from your diet. Like if you really enjoy chocolate, banning it is a recipe for disaster. If you really enjoy like pizza, cutting it out is a recipe for disaster, which is why I use my plan don't ban method with clients. So you need to ensure that you're replacing the dopamine, not removing it. Number 3 is overcomplicating things. Now, planning is one of those phrases that usually gets ADHDers feeling a little bit sick. Like, plan, rules, like I like to be a free spirit. But if you have protein to hit and calories to hit and this, all these decisions to make and you don't plan, your brain is going to be overloaded. And especially when it's, doing adulting and doing its job and dealing with all the other bits that it's doing on a day-to-day basis, especially when that initial dopamine rush is gone from, when it's exciting to plan all the new meals and plan, it's going to start to actually feel really, really challenging. So then what does it do? It defaults to the most safe, convenient options, which is the old food choices it was making. Too many decisions, too many options leads to just not doing anything. So what do you need to do? You need to plan like your life depends on it. I know the word plan probably gives you an ick, but you need to reframe how you think about the word planning. It isn't boring. It isn't, rigid. It's allowing you to achieve what you want to achieve. If you think about anything in life where you plan, you cannot overplan. Planning means you're there on time. Planning means you don't overspend. Planning means that you eat to your means. You're not making impulse decisions. So every single week, I would suggest to my clients that you sit down, you do a plan for your meals, your snacks, everything. You cannot over-prepare. You cannot over-plan. The 4th, and this is a big one, is using shame as motivation. Shaming yourself, bullying yourself into change. A lot of people think that they need this, which is why they like this whole idea of like a really horrible PT being, to calling them fat, and people think that it works. And short term, yes, shame can make you change. If you're really hard on yourself, like just fucking do it. But over time, it really destroys your sense of confidence. Think of it like a short term win, but a long term damage. Right? So short term, yes, it might get you to go to the gym or put down the chocolate bar or whatever, but every time you are horrible to yourself, subconsciously under the layers that you can't see, it eats away at your confidence. It eats away at your self-belief, your self-efficacy. And self-confidence, self-belief, self-efficacy is going to get you way further on the journey. So you need to stop shaming yourself. You need to stop being hard on yourself. You need to stop using PTs that are horrible to you, shouting at you, calling you fat, calling you lazy. It's short-term motivation, but long-term it is going to sabotage you, which is why in the work that I do, and in fact in my Wired to Thrive program, the first module isn't about calories. It isn't about exercise. It is about identity and how you speak to yourself. Because until you can be kind, until you start to use nice words to yourself, until you start to build that sense of I can, you will forever be in these cycles. You cannot use the shame motivation forever. It will eventually run out. And the 5th and final mistake is what ADHDers perceive as consistency. They perceive consistency and progress to be this like linear thing, and it's not, right? You don't lose the same amount of weight week on week. You don't make the same amount of physical progress. And if you expect that and you don't achieve it, then you're going to be disappointed. That's when you think, what's the point? The same that if you expect that you can do the same level of output every single day, with ADHD brains, some days you will just be overstimulated. Some days life will be really hard. And you know what? To expect those really high standards of yourself is fucking ridiculous. So what you need to understand is that a neurodivergent brain is going to work in waves, right? So some weeks you're going to do loads, some weeks you're going to do a little bit, but consistency is not about doing the same thing day by day, which is why I don't like this whole do 10,000 steps a day, eat this many calories, bang on, because it doesn't always work like that. Consistency with a neurodivergent brain is doing something. My favorite phrase, something is better than nothing, because you're always moving forward, but working with your energy, working with your nervous system. Now, these small shifts alone will make fat loss possible for your ADHD brain. But if you are watching this and thinking, I want to guarantee success, I want an approach, you've talked about these little approaches that you do inside your coaching, Lucy. I want to hear more about them. I want the tools, the systems, everything I need to make this work for my brain. This is why I designed my Wired to Thrive program, which is the go-to program for neurodivergent brains who want to lose weight and keep it off. It isn't just calories, it's everything that you need. It's all of these systems. It's more than what I've gone into today. This was just the top 5. I go into everything, every struggle, every barrier when it comes to weight loss, health, fitness that neurodivergent brains face, and give you strategies so that you can lose weight and feel good in your body. You can be healthier. You can feel better in yourself day to day. And that is why I designed this program specifically for you. Now, if you are interested, depending on what time you are watching this video, spaces may be open now, or there will be a wait list for when you are next available to join, but all the details will be in the description. And of course, if you do want to ask me pet questions specifically, the link to my Instagram will be in the description too. Pop me a message, say, hey, watch your video, want to hear more about your program, and I'm always happy to chat. No Ricky sales from me. I will chat, and if I think I can help, I'll let you know about it. But over and out for today's video. Like I said, please let me know in the comments which of the tips was the most helpful, most valuable for you, and I will see you